Hey, it's Melina. I'm here at the Genzio Media House for ETH Denver. I'm joined today by James from Neuron. We discuss business adoption for DeepIn data and AI agents. Check it out. Hey, it's Melina. I'm here at the Genzio Media House ahead of ETH Denver. I'm joined today with James from Neuron. Hey, James, thanks for being here.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So talk to us. What is Neuron? Explain to us.
So Neuron really is tackling the demand side problem. What we're seeing in both agents and in DeepIn networks is that they're really focusing on expanding the supply of the network, which is great. So we've now got all of these resources out there in the world doing amazing things. But like, how do we actually use them as businesses? How do we connect the real world into those resources to make use of them? So we've developed this like infrastructure that essentially makes it really easy for developers to connect into any resource on any network and then utilize them to build applications, agents, or even like robots. So that's
Yeah, so when you say agents, are you talking about AI agents? Because that's the new thing.
Yeah, so like right now, developers are the ones building these applications, but we're seeing like already the AI agents are already starting to do that themselves. So we're going to see a lot of these jobs being taken over by AI. And so what we do is create a really easy way for them to connect within a line of code, integrate one line of code to basically be able to provide an integration into some software. So for example, if you're building a flight tracking application, an agent can hook up all of the different flight tracking networks around the world and then start building their software application in this way. So that's kind of where we're at.
Wow. So who would you say is like your ideal customer? Like who would you say needs Neuron?
Yeah, so on one side, we integrate with the actual networks. We work with DeepIn networks, agent networks, anyone who has a resource and they want to sell that into the real world. And then on the other side, we work with businesses and other developers who are basically wanting to connect into these resources. So it's a two-sided market, but really any kind of developers who want to integrate with the network and start selling their services is really our ideal customer.
Awesome. So I'm obviously intrigued by AI agents. I'm a content creator and I'm always like, okay, maybe I need one. How do you feel about AI agents? Because people are obviously a bit scared, when you talk to normies, they're like, what is this? So yeah, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's really just a software application, but it's a software application that learns over time, and it's a software application that can work autonomously. So you give it a goal, and that goal could be, I don't know, develop me a software that does this, for example. So that could be, I don't know, flight tracking application, for example. Develop me a flight tracking application to be used in an airport. And the AI agent can then go away using its knowledge. It uses a chain of thought process to actually then decide, okay, well, first of all, I need to do this, then I need to do that, then I need to do this. And then it can go and pull in all of the different resources using Neuron to actually build that application. And so we kind of see this as like the next generation of software development is how do you actually access these resources though? And that's where Neuron comes in.
And you said DeepIn as well, right? Can you talk and touch base on that too?
Yeah, so DeepIn is kind of decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And a lot of those use cases has been, first of all, like sensor networks. So it could be a weather network, a GNSS network, or a flight tracking network. And this is basically just pulling data in from the real world and then presenting that to developers. But you also have other applications such as like compute, so CPUs, GPUs, data storage, and things like these. These are also resources that can be used by software developers. So really we're trying to build this like universal gateway for developers to integrate all of these resources into their applications. And obviously data is something that AI agents feed off. So without data, agents don't have any use really. So we're kind of trying to connect these two things together.
I feel like it's like the perfect marriage, really, data and the AI agent.
Exactly. Well, AI is built on data. So the first models that they produce is like they go out and then they train these AI models to based off huge sets of data. But then like how does it actually then interact with live data? Like it's all well and good for it to be this model to be created, maybe 6 months ago that provides some level of information. And you're also always seeing things like Grok, for example, which is on X, and that's using real-time data from X to be able to improve its own models. But what if it had access to all of these different sensors out there in the real world? Like, say, if I wanted to know how long it's going to take me in current traffic conditions to get to a certain location, like Google already has like a reasonable estimate of that. But imagine if it could connect to weather feeds, if it could connect to real-time traffic feeds from some of these in-car applications that we're seeing in DeepIn. So being able to connect all these different resources into the AI is going to enable them to be much more intelligent, much more capable, and basically put power into the hands of the individual.
Love that. So obviously we're here at ETH Denver, right? What brings you here? What are you hoping to achieve?
So really, we're here to go and make connections. You know, these kind of events is to go out there, network with people, talk to people, find projects doing cool stuff. So whether that's in, you know, compute networks, GPU networks, sensor networks, or AI agent networks, what we're doing is trying to talk to all of these different partners and basically tell them about what we're doing, because we think that we're kind of bridging that gap between the supply and the demand side. And a lot of people, you know, at the moment we're in a bull market, or a lot of people would think we are. I don't know. Over the last couple of weeks, it's not quite so clear. But when we start getting into a bear market, which is inevitably likely to come, then really these projects are going to start needing to gain real world traction, because that's where the money's going to come from. And so we sort of see Neuron as that opportunity for them to carry on the business, carry on the project, to actually start pulling money from the real world into Web3, rather than just moving it around within Web3 itself. And that's kind of what we're doing on the partnership side. And then from an investor side, we're talking to a lot of investors at the moment as well, who are very interested in what we're doing. We're actually raising a seed round at the moment. We've got a few commitments already, which is great.
Awesome.
And so we're just talking to investors, telling them about what we're doing, and just trying to go and get them excited about it, really.
I was going to ask, like, what's the reaction been like so far? What are investors telling you? You know, do they feel like there's a need for this?
Yeah, sure. So like we're speaking to like lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds, and the general consensus is that the demand side is really the right timing right now.
Awesome.
We saw in Messari's State of DeepIn report from last year that they said 2025 is all about demand side. And we've kind of been building this infrastructure that deals with the demand side. So we think that this is a really, really good timing now. Like, this is the perfect market conditions. And we're also seeing a lot of businesses out there having to adopt AI, because ultimately, you know, the Fortune 500 companies, if you look from like 30, 40 years ago, only about 50% of them actually exist now. Yeah. And that's because of technology adoption, or lack of technology adoption. You know, new technology comes in and those companies disappear because they're not adopting quick enough. So we're going to see this real need for companies to adopt these new technologies such as DeepIn and AI into their business workflows. Otherwise, they're just going to disappear. And so really what we do is present an easy way for them to do that. And so we think that there's benefits for both those DeepIn and agent projects in terms of bringing in the customers, but also the customers in adopting this new technology too.
What would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to AI and agents?
So I think with AI, like, it's a huge term, and you know,
it's become a buzzword. Yeah,
it is. It's one of them kind of things that people use it a lot. Maybe sometimes they understand it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just putting it in their pitch deck because they've been told that if they don't, then they're not going to get investment. But I think ultimately AI is huge. Like, it's going to transform the way we live. Like, over the next 5 years, you know. If someone told you 5 years ago you could type into ChatGPT and it could literally write an article for you, or it could, I don't know, tell you some, you know, do research on a really complicated subject within seconds, people would be like, no, that's not possible. Now it's like accepted as reality. In 5 years' time into the future, like, who knows where we're going to be? But we're seeing the likes of humanoid robots coming in, autonomous robo-taxis, ground delivery robots, drones, all coming in, and they're going to be adopting this AI technology. So we can start sort of seeing where this trend is going towards the intersection of robotics and AI, which is kind of scary. You know, when we start thinking about like Terminator and things like this, that's quite a scary thought, but it's also, there's a lot of opportunity there as well. And so we kind of see that intersection as a really exciting area.
What are you hoping to get now? Like, what are the next few months? You know, obviously this is being filmed ahead of time. What are you hoping to get out of in the next 6 months? Like, what's going to happen for Neuron?
Yeah, so we're currently raising our round, but then really the one of the key aspects to Neuron is this validator network. So we're launching the validator node soon. So you'll be able to come onto neuron.world and be able to sign up for a validator node. And really what these validator nodes are there to do is to keep this whole network secure. If there is a dispute between the two parties, then it resolves the disputes. So we're trying to build up this network of validators to go and secure the network, and then we're going to be rolling out all of these different use cases. So we started off with the first use case, which was in-flight tracking. We're now speaking GNSS networks, weather networks, mobile phone sort of data networks. We're also talking to AI agent networks on the other side. So what we're trying to do now is to connect all of these different data sources into these AI agent networks, and then bring it all together. So that's kind of like the next 6 months is the validator networks, and then bringing on all of these other new projects. And then into the future, what we're going to be looking at is really the enterprise adoption. So bringing in these big customers, we're already talking and working with a lot of these big enterprise customers who want to adopt this kind of technology. They just don't really know how to do it easily and properly. And that's going to be then the sort of next stage, which is the real growth stage.
So where can people learn more? How can they connect with you? How can they, reach out and say, hey, I wanna validate, I wanna be that person?
Yeah, so if you come on to neuron.world, follow us on there. Also follow our socials. So neuron_world is our X account, and follow us on there, and we'll be coming out with some news in the next probably 4 to 6 weeks on how to actually run that. So I think that's probably your best bet.
Thanks so much, James.
Lovely to meet you.
Brought to you by Hedera and Foresight Ventures.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a house.
No, we do not understand that we need to work hard. Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Genzio Media House.
Oswald, thanks so much for joining us today.